Kingstream Entertainment, Ruslan.
And Akademiks came out calling out his boy Tekashi 6ix9ine. I never would have thought this. Akademiks has been very defensive of Tekashi 6ix9ine. I think they're homies. And he basically came out with this article. And by the way, I hate covering Tekashi 6ix9ine, guys. I think he's the ultimate troll. Came out covering this article from Hip Hop DX. Shout out to Hip Hop DX. Akademiks calls out Tekashi 6ix9ine's Tattletales album a flop. A flop. Goodness gracious. I wish I flopped this good. Right? He called it a flop. Why did he call it a flop? Well, because there was 100,000 merch bundles that didn't get counted, which brought his sales down to 50,000 first week sales. He said, you had the #1 song in the last couple months. You've done all this trolling. Going to Nipsey's mural. The trolling was just disgusting, by the way. Going to O Block. You're going to sell 50,000 first week, and you've been clowning other people. Now what's going on here? If you ask me, he should be selling $300,000 copies. Okay. And then he goes on to say, blaming lack of radio support and the fact that Tekashi has burned a lot of his bridges before he went to jail. Now with the snitching thing, it's like the cake. He's out here. Radio doesn't want to F with him, especially radio stations. Blah, 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 blah. The other part of the equation, Ak says, is 6ix9ine music being left off of playlists. Left off a playlist on digital services such as Tidal, Apple Music, Pandora, which he says typically accounts for 50% of streams. 50% of streams first week are happening. Why? Because of playlisting. This is wild. Now watch what Tekashi, check out Tekashi's response. Earlier this month, 6ix9ine called out Spotify and Apple Music, called them both out for not playlisting his music, writing in a since-deleted Instagram post. The industry knows that you're a monster and you can't be stopped. They make sure they do everything in their power to make you lose. These award shows, these top charters are there because they want them to be, and they'll beat them in your face till you think you like them. I dropped an album today and they have completely blacklisted me. It's so no one can see it. The industry is rigged. Whoo, the industry is rigged. Let's just talk about sales for a second. Brief background. Now, when you had exclusively sales of music, downloads, physical sales, primarily through iTunes, physical sales. People were coming out doing 50,000, 75,000, 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, right? Crazy. Ooh. Well, what happened? Well, in 2015, Spotify, Apple Music exploded. Boom. Now, literally, what seemed like over the course of a summer almost, probably more like a year, but everybody migrated from, I'm going to buy my music through iTunes, or I'll pirate it, but people still bought music. It migrated to, now I'm going to pay $10 a month, $15 a month, $20 a month. I'm going to stream my music, and it's music on demand, an infinite amount of music on demand. Pre this transition, there was a lot of money in music. There still is a lot of money in music, but as an independent artist, there's a lot of money in music. Why? Because you could come out, sell 3,000, sell 2,000 records at a net profit of $7 to $10 an album. That's what, 30 to 40, 50,000 first week. That's a lot of money. Well, that shifted to streaming. Why is that important? Because a stream, it pays you a third of a penny, approximately, maybe half a penny, approximately. Tidal pays a penny, approximately, versus an album sale, which is $1 per song, right? What does that mean? That means to count one sale, you got to get 1,500 sales. One sale, 1,500 streams. One sale, 1,500 streams. Who made up that number? I don't know, but that's how it goes. Maybe it's because that's the equivalent revenue it generates. I'm not sure. That's a lot. If I could sell one album and make $7 to $10, now I got to sell 1,500 streams. I got to get people to willfully consume my music 1,500 times. What does that mean? Well, guess who gets access to these big playlists? Guess who had a bit more stock in Spotify? You guessed it, the major labels. So they can kind of finesse these streams, and according to Akademiks, I haven't personally reached in this, 50% of first week streams are playlist, editorial, algorithmic. That's a lot. So these DSPs, is what we call them, Apple Music, Spotify, are controlling 50% of that initial first week spark. That's crazy. So what happened? Well, in the music industry, people started bundling their merchandising. You guys remember a couple years ago, we had Travis Scott just dominating the charts, And then Nicki Minaj came out with an album. She made a big fuss because she didn't get the #1 album. He had the album out for like 6 months, and people just assumed that's the issue with a lot of this is popularity bias, social proof. You guys assume that whoever's at the top of the charts is the best album out. When really what was happening was Travis Scott was on tour and he was selling his merchandise. He's selling, let's just call it, I don't know, 30,000 t-shirts a week, which is not that crazy if you're in front of 100,000 people, 150,000 people a week. He's selling 30,000 t-shirts a week. That's an additional 30,000 sales. And you bundle an album out, you give a little small download code, and boom, the album comes out, you get a little download code, and they mark it as a album sale. It's kind of grimy. They mark it as an album sale, right? That's not an album sale, that's a merch sale. So Nicki Minaj comes out, she sells some real albums because she got some real fans, and she does some of the merch bundling too, but not when you're physically in front of 100,000, 200,000 people a week. You're not going to get the same number of merch sold because Travis was at the peak of his tour cycle. So she makes a big fuss of it. Later on, DJ Khaled make a big fuss of it because he couldn't count his energy drinks that he bundled up with his album, right? So they're bundling and so on and so forth. So what happened? Well, Billboard came out, and they saw this being manipulated. And they say, listen, you guys cannot do this anymore. You guys can't do this anymore. What does that mean? Can't do this anymore. You have to put the albums individually listed on the website, and you have to put the t-shirt individually listed on the website. They got to be a la carte. You got to be able to get one or the other. Meaning you can't trick somebody into buying an album because they came to buy the latest drop. This is how Nav charted. You guys remember Nav charted really high, sold a bunch. Well, why? Because he did these like super massive collabs with these big brands, and they sold like Fear of God stuff. I don't remember the exact brands, and people were going to buy the exclusive merch that was partnered with these high fashion brands, and then they would add in an album bundle. Well, they said, no, you can't do that. So what did all the artists do? What all the labels do? They pushed all the a la carte albums to the back of the website. The individual albums, the individual downloads, the CDs, the individual t-shirts all got pushed to the back, and they put the bundles to the front. And they put in little small text, hey, this is just, you can get it. You're buying a digital download with this. Billboard came back again. No, you can't do that. You can't do that. You have to make people opt in. So meaning that you go buy a t-shirt, it's $20 or $25. You have to opt in for the $10 album now. Billboard's tired of it. So I think in the middle of all this is where Tekashi came out, and he didn't have the playlist support because remember, he burnt a lot of bridges. A lot of people that don't mess with him. He got a big mouth. He burnt a lot of the Spotify support, a lot of that stuff. He can't do radio, so he can't have a #1 record on radio that everybody's consuming, like say, I don't know, like an NF or, John Bellion. They do really well on radio. So he can't do radio. He doesn't have any good relationships with Spotify anymore. And they just changed the daggone merch bundle system where now you have to literally go and add to cart an additional item. All of this happens in this snowstorm. And I believe Billboard completely got rid of this entire thing. Now, what does all this have to do with anything? Well, this is the thing. A lot of consumers are looking at social proof. You guys assume, and I made a whole video about this, but you guys assume that whatever's popular is the best. You don't assume that stuff gets finessed and becomes popular because of major label relationships, because of somebody's on tour in front of 150,000 people a week, selling 30,000 t-shirts a week, fluctuating the numbers. You guys assume that whatever's popping is popular. Whatever's popping, whatever's popular is good. That's just not how it works. There's a lot of great independent artists out there. They don't have the relationships at Spotify, and they do fine, but they're not going to touch that algorithm the same. Well, if you can't touch the algorithm the same, you're going just off of pure fans. You get a Tekashi 6ix9ine doing 50,000 sales. All of his merch sales are thrown out. That's a flop. How is that a flop? Why is it a flop? It's a flop because this man got like 20 million Instagram followers or 15 million Instagram followers. He's one of the biggest personalities online, and he's only selling 50,000 records. 50,000 streams. Remember I told you one sale is 1,500 streams. Let's just do the math on that. Let's do one sale. What's one sale? So if you're doing 1,500 for 50,000 is 75 million first week streams. 75 million. Remember, no playlisting. And again, he probably sold some on iTunes. How is that a flop? Anybody come listen, I do 1 million first week streams on my music. I'm like, yo, this is massive. It's about the social 75 million first week streams. That's not a flop. It's a flop because we're looking at social proof, because we're trying to finesse numbers, because we're trying to, right? Like we're playing these silly games. And if you burn your bridges, you're going to lose. Now check out this part. And I want you guys, I want the fans, those of y'all that don't understand how this works. This is for you guys. Consider this. Listen to what he says. He says the industry knows that you are a monster and you can't be stopped. They make sure they do everything in their power to make you lose. That's what happened to Tekashi. Check this out. These award shows, talking about award shows, these top charters are there because they want them to be. And they'll beat them in your face till you think you like them. Now, I don't like Tekashi 6ix9ine. I don't like what he represents, but this is one of the realest things he's ever said. They'll beat them in your face until you think you like them. I dropped an album today and they completely blacklisted it. The industry is rigged. Stop believing the goofy notion that whoever is most popular is the best. It makes the best music. Stop it. It's goofy. It's backwards. It's asinine. It's not how the world works. It's not how the algorithm works. There's a lot of independent artists out there that make amazing music. Dare I say music better than Tekashi 6ix9ine who are not getting the same looks, not because they make whack music, but according to Tekashi, they'll beat them in your face till you think you like them. Who's they? The DSPs. You think I'm getting on Rap Caviar with my music? No. You think independent artists are getting on Rap Caviar with their music? No. Who's getting on Rap Caviar? People who have relationships with major labels. Go through the Rap Caviar. Why am I bringing up Rap Caviar? It's the biggest Spotify playlist for hip hop. Look through that playlist. How many independent artists are on that playlist? 0. Why? Because it's rigged. Because they are in bed. At one point, Capitol and some of the other major labels had stock in Spotify. I think Spotify since got that stock back and bought it back from them. But guys, this entire thing is smoke and mirrors. Okay? And if you want to pursue music, pursue music. Don't pursue the industry. If you want to make media, content, art, do it. Stop trying to pursue an industry. Stop trying to pursue a scene. It's gonna let you down. It's gonna fail you. Don't do it. Okay? Don't go about it that way. It's just gonna be a massive L. So, speaking of what perceives to be massive L's, let me hit you guys with this transition.
King's Dream Entertainment. Ruslan.